Hello, this is Cotton Stoops, and welcome back to another Lumion Legacy HTUC video. And finally, I'm making a video on Skelic, specifically its Soul Burst form. There's a lot of things to go over with this video, so I'm just going to go straight into it. From the counters and checks and teammates you'll need to know in order to know how to use Skelic in your battles, as well as knowing the roles and sets in order to know how to team build around it. Today's video is going to be talking about how to encounter Skelic. The role that Seascourge SKELIC and even regular Skelics as well will also be playing around in your battles will all depend on its base stats. Differently from its base Skelic form, it has a lower melee defense of 55, leaving you very prone to melee attacking hits. You also have a decent range defense, not the greatest thing in the world, but this is serviceable, especially against a lot of passive Lumions, and your speed tier of 77 outspeeds most walls uninvested. However, it keeps you under check by the likes of Soul Burst Eruptodon, Halvantic, and a lot more above your speed tier that you normally won't even want to actually hit. So this is going to be pretty tough for you. However, you do have boosting moves with Drudge and personalities to take advantage of, so you can actually outspeed them if you do choose to. You have an HP stat of 109, so you actually do have some pretty good range bulk, at least offensive wise. This is still not patching up your melee defense weakness. Your energy of 100 stays the same, as you still have a lot of moves to choose from and attack with, as your melee attack of 134 also helps out your attacking stats very well, making you hit naturally hard. Another thing with Skelic here is that it has a decent defensive typing, although you have 3 weaknesses to 2 common types in Light and Ancient, more so Light coming from the likes of Valkyrie, Luminami, Jelusa, Elephage, Phagenaut, not Elephage but mainly Phagenaut, also Landtorch. This is a very rough type to be weak to in this metagame. Doesn't help that you're also weak to Ancient, so you're getting hit by the likes of the Fusion Dragons and much more. So as long as you outspeed these Ancients for sure with a Drudge, then that's what you're trying to do. Lights, of course, you never really want to face them unless you know you're able to OHKO them. Next up, you actually do have some pretty decent resistances. You resist 2 regularly and then 2 more types quadruply. Fire and water, this is pretty decent. If you really want to push things, you can actually stop a lot of Novideuses from killing your team. Of course, if they haven't used their Ancient Stab, then it will be a lot more harder to, but this does provide itself as a common check to Novideus if you want to. The main thing you really want to use this for is swapping into the fire types such as Soul Burst Eruptodon, Fire Breaths, the water types mainly from other Skelixes, ice hits mainly from the likes of Glaciadia and Himber, spirit types mainly from the likes of Harvesect, Vesperatu, and Maraith, giving you a pretty decent edge over all of these guys. So your defensive typing has a lot of switch in potential, leaving you a pretty good wall breaker in the end. It can also provide you as a pretty good sweeper with your move Drudge. So first off, we're going to be talking about our sweep set. This unfortunately doesn't work as well as we'd like to. Swift Swim, otherwise known as Pokemon's +2 speed under rain. So once we get some proper drowse setters in the game, this Swift Swim is going to be very good. Unfortunately, I do not know the name because the ability is bugged at the time of recording this, so I cannot do that for you guys. So that is a problem. However, you're going to want to be combative from your regular stage. While there isn't a lot of decreasing attacking moves in this game, we do have some Lumions with abilities that can do that. Specifically, Terrifying Seernites. These are slow and not really popping up as well, but they still exist. You can also try Mud Spatters from the likes of Soul Burst Krakaloa, Venilin, much more if you really want to, but combative ultimately isn't really a great ability. However, this is your best ability that you can have. Any other ability still works just as well. Your personality will be Brawny or Nimble. Brawny helps you with a lot of the melee wall breaking matchups. However, if you want to be a pure sweeper, which is the main goal of this set, running Nimble is very good. Your moveset of choice is going to be Primal Slash and Mega Chomp always. You want your Ancient Stab and your Mega Chomp being able to hit light types. And then of course, Wave Wrecker can be here. Dredge is also a very good option that I'd recommend on all Skelics. You can choose to replace one of these moves with a fadeaway so you can catch swap-ins and try and pivot in and out. And of course, helping out specific cores. However, this is going to be the main moveset you want to run. Your Soul Burst move is basically Heedless Rush, which knocks out anything in its way, which knocks out scapegoats, basically things like that. It's just a 20 base power, or it's 100 base power Wave Wrecker type move. Next up, you have your Skelic Burst, and then of course your TPs. 28 energy lets you get up to 270 energy, leaving you 2 Drudges, 2 Primals, 2 Mega Chompses, and 1 Wave Wrecker. You can go even further to go up to 275 to get that perfect 275 HP TP or for the energy. However, that will leave you at some pretty awkward energy amounts, so running this is fine. 72 HP, you want that. 200 speed with Nimble at +1 outspeeds a very nimble Zulong as well as a very nimble Gabademic. So only the new air type Roamer and Gargolem speed will be able to outspeed you base stat wise. Boots users such as Tatab and I think if I recall Ikazune and Landtorch, you may be pushing things with a Wrestling here and there, but that's there. Then your 200 melee attack, of course, max that out. Here go counters and checks. So because Skelic is actually a very menacing metagame threat, you can barely consistently revenge kill this thing. So if you want to have the best odds at revenge killing this thing, running Boots users such as Landtorch, Ikazune, and Tatab are very good. Landtorch has that 140 base power flare that can just dumpster through anything that Skelic can do. Tatab hits it on its weaker melee defense side with a very boosted Timber Thrash. Ikazune only really pivots out of it with Flash and Flee, most likely doing a 2-hit KO if you're not smart, so you have to know that about that. Next up, for your defensive counters and checks, there's actually a lot that I've collected. Tundulin works very well. Same goes for Barblast and Dokomori, and Lashent is also another surprising option. Specifically, robust variants running at least a minimum of 200 HP and 96 melee defense. This will allow you to take 3-hit KOs at the most, assuming you are swapping in on a +1 Drudge, giving you the ability to completely wall this thing with Rejuvenate or outright KO it with a Timber Thrash. Luminami is also another option, as a Mega Chomp will not be doing enough to 2-hit KO you, so pivoting in and out of it is definitely an option. However, if you're looking for consistency, I would suggest Tundulin, Barblast, or Dokomori, Lashent also being another solid answer. As for other niche answers, Soul Burst Krakaloa works very well, however, not to the point that I would really try and make. This only does well if the Skelic gets burnt and it's not on a +1 on the swap. If it is a +1 on the swap and you burn it, you may not have the ability to live the next hit. It's a very small chance, but you can rejuvenate. Next up, we have Jalusa here, which Jalusa does a very good job at it, specifically before Drudges. Luster Loot is not going to be doing enough to 2-hit KO it, but you can 3-hit KO this thing with smart sets. So, as long as you're Enchanted Coat and you're not swapping in on a +1 Skelic, you have the odds in your favor. And then, looking over to the teammate section, this is very simple. Skelic in of itself exists as its own entity. It really doesn't have a lot of synergy because it has a lot of stuff that can just stop it. So running specific Lumines for specific matchups may be your calling. However, I have found quite a bit of Lumines that generally do well against a lot of the answers that are presented. Specifically Mind types such as Meditoad, Cosmere Unleashed, Shachi, and Barrowglyph. You can even try some Swift Swim mechanics with a Cosmere Unleashed, getting the Swift Swim ability from Skelic, and that's pretty cool. However, all of these guys have some weaknesses against Lashent, so what you can try and do is pair up the Fusion Dragons along with it. Of course, using other specific metagame wall breaker or wall examples like Tatab and Nevermare for Luminami, Dokomori for a Bar Blast, using any spirit range type that can just dumpster on Tongilin. There's also a lot more that you can really try and experiment with. I'm just giving the best examples that can cover all of them, and of course, build around specifically Skelic. So with that out of the way, let's get right into the conclusion. So I think that Skelic Mate is a pretty interesting cleaner. It's very hard to gauge how well a sweeper can do in a metagame because you either have to break through a lot or you have to have the ability to outspeed. Skelic's Mate seems to be the Lumion that can just break through a lot of things because there's not a lot of melee defense wall breakers or walls that are just common right now that can just stop it. Your best answers are from OU, being Luminami and Tongilin. Then everything else, they're kind of on the lower half of OU but slowly drifting off. Skelic may prove those Lumions wrong as those Lumions will rise up to defeat it, but right now I think this is a pretty solid Soul Burst to our addition of Soul Bursts. So let me know what you thought of the video, like and subscribe to see more, and of course this is Cotton Stoops signing off to remind you that Zulong is still a dumpster fire.